How much time do I have?
45 for now.
Okay. I think I will spend more time to see if you guys have any question. I'm very glad to have the opportunity to share with you, and thank you very much for the organizer. At first, I actually didn't know what to talk about, when I was being invited to this seminar, because I'm more familiar actually with the finance side of the company, as the role for me in the group is mainly responsible for the financing of the company, and I'm also a member of the Business Angel Network. So at first I proposed to actually talk about how to raise capital in the market. But then the organizer insisted that the crowd will be interested to know how actually to set up a social media agency or digital marketing company. So I will talk about this topic. It's interesting, most of the people here are male. I was pondering what's the reason actually. But anyway, how many of you are entrepreneurs here yourself? Okay, one or two. And how about the remaining? How many of you are in the digital marketing field? Okay, 1, 2, 3. We have 3 people. So what do you do actually? Communication. So in the public relations field? Organizational communication. So it's in-house service. And how about the gentleman besides? You're an engineer. So what interests you to come to sacrifice the evening? Okay. Okay, sounds good. Okay, I just try to get an idea about the crowd. So because I have to figure out what to talk about tonight. Maybe a little bit more background about our company, so that we have won 2 awards consecutively over the last 2 years. We were awarded as the #1 digital agency in Hong Kong for 2012 and 2013, with more than 200 people working with us in Hong Kong at the moment. We started the company about 6 to 7 years ago, and so it is. I think we are one of the fastest growing advertising agency in Hong Kong. The largest agency in Hong Kong shall be Ogilvy, and I think it's called M Group, which is a media buy company, and I think they have also about 200 people as well. So the question is how we build the company starting from scratch. The total capital we put in was less than 100,000 Hong Kong dollar when we began the company with 4 people 7 years ago, and catch up to the scale of what we are doing. I think there is not much technical point which I would like to share. I'm not going to tell you what's the difference between SEO and SEM, and what's a social ad, what's a page post ad, what's a like ad. I think you can look up to Facebook, or you can type in Wikipedia and find a lot of those information easily. I will just share with you the key along the journey, which I think is more important. There are a few key points. I think the first is we are a first mover in the market. So every time for every single new product when we launch, at the time the market was not doing it at the moment. For example, the first product we launched was called Advertising Network. At the time we launched, there was only one other company doing it in 2008, and in 2009 we started our service on providing social media agency service on Facebook. But Facebook was only starting being really popular in Hong Kong in 2008. It started in 2004, but then if you can remember, in 2006 or 2007, many people are still using blogs, or there was a large crowd on forums. So we were really new. And in 2000, at the end of 2009, beginning of 2010, we already started our service on Weibo. So for every single market we go into, we try to, if we are not the first, we need to catch up very hard. So I think that's the first key. Have to identify the trend and then ride on it. Either, no matter you are a marketer or you are advertising agency, service provider, I think this is very, very important in our industry. And second is it's all about professional service, because at the end we are a service industry. So what does it mean by professional service? You got to know what you are doing. Your client asks you, you can tell them for both the latest technical updates as well as about the client. Like, you have to imagine you are the client, or if you were working as a marketer, you are either you are a manager. If you are a manager, you have to imagine you are a director. If you are a director, you imagine you are the shareholder. Yeah. So you have to think at least a few levels up to get the total picture. So you know the piece of your work, how it fits in the total picture. And you have to share the passion and sense of ownership, which in other people feel that, oh, actually you are thinking for me instead of trying to rip me off. Even if you make a few mistakes along the way, if they feel that you are with them, then it's fine. Yeah, they will give you another chance. I think that's the second very important key idea what we are doing. And the third is in our industry, a lot of people would emphasize a lot on features. So what kind of new platform emerge? For example, Instagram or Pinterest, they are not very new, but then even Instagram or Pinterest, not many marketers are using. The platform people are still using mainly is just Weibo and Facebook today. But the thing is, then it comes down to a question. I think even for digital marketing or any kind of service, it comes down to some basic discipline. You have to have the discipline to have regular meeting, the staff exchange the information. You have to have the discipline to do the reporting to your client. You have to have the discipline to record all the information on your service. A lot of this, it looks at routine or administrative or things which are quite old school. Maybe 100 years ago, people were already doing business in that way. But then I think, especially in the new age, this kind of traditional discipline would even be more differentiation factor. Differentiation means you are doing something other people are not doing. And because in our industry, most people are young people, so they don't care about these kind of things. And so if you do it, then you are already winning. So I think these are the few things which we are doing, and we stick to it. And maybe I can share a little bit about some of our company core value, which we repeatedly, if you come into our company, you can find it at the reception. There's a board, and then for people who come to interview, you read it on our introduction, and then for evaluation, we also go through once more time. But then no matter how many times we go through, I still find it not enough for the concept. But I think that's at the core strategy of our company. Our mission is to be digital partner of marketers and offer insights and solution, and thereby deliver ROI. So that's the mission of our company. So why is it so important to be digital partner of our client? I think in every single market or industry, there are some problems which exist in the market or industry. It is not just about whether one company can make money, the company will get listed, or the company will collapse. But it is about the industry improvement, so that it makes everyone's life better. And I think one of the largest problems in our industry is there's no trust between the client and the agency. And what's the result is the client, they never share the marketing brief or the digital plan with the agency. And as agency, we can never guess what's in the mind of the marketer. So we randomly throw out ideas which are useless to the marketers. And also, marketers always like to hold their budget and decision at the very last minute, and then tell you that, oh, you have to come up with a website or like a mobile app in 4 or 6 weeks. And that's quite ridiculous. Many of the market players in turn to adapt to the market, then they will first promise the client, yes, 4 weeks we can do it. But then they have a lot of terms written in it, and then at the end they say, hey, right after they sign the contract, and then they give the client 2 days and they give them a list of things you have to answer me by 12 noon. Otherwise, the project has to delay by 2 weeks. So at the end, the project not even completing in 1 month, maybe complete in 3 months or 6 months. And so the project totally, or the project has to accept a substandard deliverable. And what's the end result is, after a marketer has that experience, then he or she feel being treated like it is a snake bites effect, so he or she doesn't trust the agency anymore. Yeah, because they were treated. And then that downward spiral keep happening in the industry. And that's if in economic sense it is increasing the transaction cost between the two parties. And that transaction cost has to be absorbed by someone. That basically is a productivity loss for the whole marketing or advertising community. So in our mission, the first thing is to build trust, to be the digital partner of each other. Because with trust, then the information flow much more smooth, and then there is much more room for bigger idea, longer term investment, and more strategic move. And then after we become the partner, I think what is important is for us to have the insight. Insight doesn't have to be a stack of documents. You just have to find the key point, 1 or 2 key points, it can change the game. So we have to look at it and to see what's the problem and what's the game changer. So we always encourage, certainly there are different levels and different scope. Maybe sometimes just the T&C can be a game changer if for a small campaign worth maybe 20,000 or 50,000 Hong Kong dollars. Just if so, every staff has to, in his or her own way, find out the key problem or the key potential problem before everything launch, and then we have to find the solution to solve that identified problem. And then at the end, we believe that with the insight and solution, we can deliver the so-called marketing ROI to our clients. Despite marketing ROI is a very big concept in our industry, it is not exactly the same as in finance, where you maybe divided by your net profit divided by your investment. In our industry, it's more a sense that the marketer feel satisfied, and that's marketing ROI in the practical environment, unless you go to the CMO level or some very large FMCG companies, maybe they have a very robust ROI evaluation. Otherwise, I think it's more an art rather than science. For example, counting number of fans or counting people talking about this, which is an engagement index on Facebook, and then using that to divide it by dollar and calculate a comparable. That's quite a common market practice in our industry at the moment. But honestly, I can hardly see how that links to a financial result immediately. So at the end, it is more about a sense whether it's okay or not. So that's our company mission, and our vision is to be pioneer and leader in the industry. And as what I just shared, I think it is in our industry, it's a fast-paced industry. Everything moves very fast. The news, the technology, the platform, the market practice. So if you are not at the frontier or the leader, like your profit margin can be very thin because it will become a commodity. Your service is a commodity. If you offer a service as $20,000, another company will say, hey, why don't come to me? I will take it at 15,000, and then another company will be 10,000. So you really got to find out something which only you can do it, other people can't do it, and very often this is something very new. So the ability to adapt to something new is very key. And for a company, how would it be able to adapt something very new? Other than hiring a bunch of fresh graduates, I think that's not the only way to do it, right? I think it goes back to what I mentioned before. It requires a structure. Yeah, any company, when it looks like chaotic or random outside. It must have some sort of structure or backbone behind to support any kind of innovation or changes. But other than a structure, it also requires a culture or some sort of incentive system to allow people to make decisions on the ground. And I think whether it adopt a very rigid decision-making process or it has a high level of delegation is very key in our industry. And I think one of the things we are doing is our organization is still very flat. At least we try to maintain it that way. Even with 200 people, we have 5 directors in the office, and if you come to our office, everyone is one of our colleagues actually. You will see we actually do not have any rooms. No director has any room, and our table is just slightly bigger. Well, maybe at the most is twice the size of the normal staff. And so we try to reduce any special privilege or entitlement. Well, we are not talking about animal farms where everyone is equal. But I think what we are saying is we try to reduce some unnecessary hierarchy. Some organizations will try to use some rituals or hierarchy to build up the control and stabilize the workforce. And I think especially in bigger organizations such as a city or a country, this kind of mechanism are being deployed more often. But I think for startup or for small organization, I will regard any organization with less than 1,000 people. If you want to maintain a growth of 30 or 50% or 100%, the most important thing is speed. As long as you are not making some fatal mistake which will bring the whole organization down or incur some unbearable loss or risk, then any mistakes is okay. The biggest mistakes to avoid is to be too slow in the market. And I think that rounds up my sharing today. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions on the floor?
Hi, quick question. You started out with less than 100,000 Hong Kong dollar, you said, and 4 people. Were those all for 4 co-founders, or just you, the founder, and 3 staff?
Oh, we have 4 co-founders, yeah.
How did you evaluate your business idea when you first started?
How did we evaluate, or how did...
Evaluate whether there was a viable business that you wanted to pursue?
Well, I think most of the decisions made by people are started emotionally and then later rationalized with facts and data.
Okay, yeah, that's the way I do it as well. Now question, because when you started, I assume you didn't have a portfolio of existing clients or customers to show when you were trying to find new work. How did you manage to get off the ground, so to speak?
I think that really depends on determination. Yeah, if you want to do it, then you will find some way to do it. I think everyone do it differently.
Yeah, so I want to know how you did it.
Oh, the first few clients are actually some smaller clients. One is I make a poster worth 1,500 Hong Kong dollar, and then because I affiliate with an association called Junior Chamber International, and I was in a project at the time, so I asked the other members whether they, because they need to design a poster, and then I say, you know, my company also offers such a service, so want to give me a try? And they say, okay, why not? Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I have a question about your, say, portfolio of clients. You know, with the movement into China, is it a big demand in you know, your service from companies who are overseas coming through Hong Kong, or what is the sort of trend at the moment?
I think Hong Kong, its market size is obviously limited by 7 million people, as you can hear from Mr. Lee Ka-Chun. He said most of his investment are already diversified overseas, but not today due to the political environment, but due to economic facts. and he started that 20 or 30 years ago. And I think the thing is very simple. Hong Kong has 7 billion people, and then Greater China has 1.4 billion people, and the world has almost 8 billion people. So the more people you serve, then the more business you have. So, but then the only question is, the more people you serve, the more work you need to do. And whether you want to do more work or you are capable to do more work due to various reasons, psychological, physical, or whatever, is another question.
Oh, okay. So how about the trend? Like, do you target Chinese companies these days, or how do you sort of look for the clients other than just, you know, randomly?
I think for Hong Kong, I will say there are 2 tiers of market. One would be the corporate kind and one would be the SME kind. And then I would broadly categorize 2,000 corporate kind as our target segment, and I believe most of our close competitor would have similar segmentation as well. And then there are some companies which mainly focus on SME, other than the startup which they can't find client, and so that's why they have to start with friends around to start with SME. For example, PCC and New World iMedia, their company size is about 100 or 150 people and doing similar service, but then they tactically focus on just the SME client. And then for the 2,000 corporate client, I think what very key is to build your reputation and then have the snowballing effect and then roll up there. Because 2,000 corporate and then the core marketing department has about 10 people on average. Some will be larger, for example, P&G, Unilever, or Estee Lauder, because the whole thing is about marketing and then channel management. Because then other things is not in their core operation. Supply chain, they have some backup. But their core thing is marketing, so they maybe have 50 or 100. But if you think about the marketing professional community in the 2,000 corporate, it's about 20,000 people around. So these people, basically they know each other, they will switch job from one and other one. And then our current portfolio, we have about 500 out of these 2,000 clients. So for us, the key is to do our work well, so that when we switch job, they will also give us a call. and the second key strategy is to not to be too mean to your colleagues. Because when they graduate from our company or resign, depends on how you call it, very likely they immediately become a client. Yeah. So if they are happy, they become client, then they give us a call again. And then if you want to stretch that even further, you can start target marketing student at Hong Kong U or UST. Yeah, but that's a long-term investment. You can start with year 1 and then go to the marketing association, sponsor them or play with them, and then until they graduate, then most of them will become marketers. And then you send them your business card. Yeah.
Okay. Any more questions? Any on the floor? Yeah.
Thank you for sharing about your company story. I'm just starting out in online marketing. I currently have a full-time job, not in online marketing, but I'm trying to get into it. And I'm just wondering if you have any advice for young people like me who are trying to get into it. What should we focus on? I know you said that we should be nice to our colleagues and also be mindful when we switch jobs. But do you have any other advice for the long term?
Let me clarify a bit. Are you starting your own company or you are working in a marketing company and are responsible for the digital marketing part of it? Because the two strategies will be very different.
Well, actually, I'm not in a marketing role right now for my full-time job, but I am volunteering for a digital marketing agency, and I'm pretty much a jack of all trades for that company.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Well, then I think your company would have because every company has its own strategy. So I think just work closely with your boss. I'm sure you choose the company for a reason, and I'm sure they can survive the market because they have some very unique strength. So I think you just stick closely with your company and then try to learn as much as from that company. That will be the best you can do.
Thank you.
Jeff, you mentioned about the gender issue at the very beginning. So, in what way, and what is the staff, the distribution of gender and also various age group and even ethnicity or background that could enhance your creativity within your company? And what is your selection, recruitment, and training strategies to keep enhancing innovation and creativity in the company?
Thank you. I think in terms of the demographic distribution, our age shall be around, our youngest intern will be 18 years old, older staff will be about 45. And I think most of them will be somewhere between 25 to 35 years old, our colleagues. And gender, half male, half female, 95% will be university graduate, 20%, 10 to 20% will be our master. We have some foreigners and some mainlanders that constitute about 10 to 20% of our workforce. In terms of selection criteria, I think some generic screening such as education, working experience would definitely be taken into consideration. And then after that, it depends on the role they are applying. And then we will look at the work they have done before. For copywriting, then we look at the things they have written. For a designer, we look at the things they have designed. Programmer, there will be some tests given to them. And then for solution developer or some sales, then we will test their skill on the spot. And then at the end, I think trying to see whether they, I think different teams, we delegate that hiring power to our line manager quite a lot. So other than some generic, then I think they just make their own choice. But then for me, when I hire the person, like my key is to feel that whether they have the passion to make a difference in their life and in the industry. Yeah. Training. Every morning we have our open session which people can walk in or walk out, and then people just share things there regularly. So yeah. So I think that is a very core part of our training. And then each team, they might have some within team training. And then because there are too much knowledge in the industry and you can never learn everything. So we have a phone list, so each one is responsible for different parts. So when people have problem, then they can give a call to that person. So it is more like our Guru Wikipedia, but it's more a menu type rather than a knowledge management platform.
You mentioned that in this industry, it's very important to stay in the upfront, be a pioneer of the industry. So you also mentioned that you leverage a structure or incentives to make the company at the top and the front. So can you share with us some examples how you achieve that to make everyone be a frontier in the industry?
I think that's an interesting question. I think the first thing is to have a consensus within the senior management team. That's a direction. I think maybe in many management books you have seen getting management buy-in is very key. And when the organization is small, like 10 or 20 people, I can't feel that. But then when it grows to about 200 people, I found if there is a particular director which has a very big opposition about a certain direction, you can hardly move a thing. My role, despite being a founder and shareholder and general manager of the Hong Kong office, but if some director actually they don't buy in of the idea, okay, after I have launched a certain scheme, then some subtle things will happen gradually, and then the plan will die in the middle of execution. So even he doesn't publicly speak against what you are doing, but then some of these. So I think that is very key. build a consensus among the senior management. If you start having a second layers of leaders, then you have to engage the second layers of leader and then feeling the importance of it. And the second is wherever there is something new, then we have to share it, or if something new being done by our company, you have to celebrate it or at least recognize it among different staff. And then so as to get everyone to know that the company encourage being a pioneer, the company encourage being a leader. And then talking about in terms of structure, every half year we have evaluation. And then in the evaluation, there will be a point saying how you achieve the company vision being a pioneer leader. And you have to cite or quote what you have done in order to achieve that vision. So there's some structure in place for us to do so. But I think a lot of time in advertising industry or IT industry, there are some people who are really more talented than others. For example, I am not talented in this aspect, I have to be honest. So I have to find many talented people to do that. And the idea is you have to find some people who are already very talented. And then you have such a person, then he will affect all other people. So different teammates on the have to pay an eyes out of the latest development. And then if you see some really interesting thing happening in the space, then you give a call to the guy and then invite him or her to join the team. I think that constant influx of talent can make the spirit to keep going.
I think that's a wrap. Thank you, Jeff, for your talk today, and I'm sure everyone enjoyed it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.